this, okay? All right, so again, let's take a look. So it says LaTanya is decorating her living room and draws a floor plan to help look at the placement. All right, so for letter A, LaTanya wants to hang a picture at the center of the back wall. How do you find the point at the center A, B? So if we take a look at this, here's A, here's B. What are we going to do there to find that center? Give me an idea. Oh, go ahead, Luis.
Repeat your question again.
What am I going to do to find that center between A and B?
We'll see where B is and see where A is.
Okay, and then do what?
Divide
Divide by what?
the numbers.
The numbers, okay. For finding a halfway point, what could we possibly divide by? Divide by 2, yeah. Let's find that distance and then divide by 2, right? So if we take a look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like we have 1 to 12, but the distance is 11. So we know at about 5, it should be about what, 5.5, right? 11 divided by 2 at about 5.5. That's where the picture should go. So if we look, it says 6. That's weird. But about 5.5 is where the picture should go, right? All right. So now for letter B, it says communicate precisely. LaTanya wants to place a lamp halfway between the chairs of points C and D. All right. So here's point C, here's point D. All right. How can you find the point where the lamp should go? All right. So if we want to find where that lamp should go at the halfway point, what are we going to do again? What do you guys think?
Divide by 2 again.
Yeah, find that distance. We can, just take a ruler or in this case, probably a tape measure, right? And then find that center point. Divide it by 2. So so what we're talking about today is the distance formula and the midpoint formula. And we're going to start with midpoint, okay? So let's take a look at our first example. So it says a midpoint of a segment is the point that divides a segment into 2 congruent segments. So think of a midpoint as like a segment bisector. Remember when we talked about angle bisectors and we had those 2 angles congruent? Midpoint is a segment bisector. It is not the bisector of a line. A line cannot bisect. Okay? Do not bisect a line. They keep going to infinity. You will never find the middle point there. All right, so it says the midpoint of PQ, all right, with P as X1, Y1, and Q as X2, Y2. So what they're saying here is we're just naming points. And this is the formula. This is what you're going to want to highlight, star. I have it written on the board as well, okay? But that's what we want to use. So if we take a look at example 1, it says, what is the midpoint of AB? You have to decide what's your first point, what's your second point. It does not matter which way you choose, just be consistent. Does that make sense? All right, so this will be, I'm going to take this as my first point. This is my second point. So this will be X1, this will be Y1, this will be X2, Y2. Yeah. Can we wait till after the lesson? Because you're going to miss some information. We don't want to do that. Okay. All right. So in this case, we have -3, -2, 4, -2. I need you back at your seat, please. Huh? We should have talked about that before. So please head back to your seat. We can talk. I can move your seat later. Okay. So here we're going to have M. So that's our midpoint equals. Now I'm going to substitute this in. My X1 is -3. My X2 is with the second point, which is 4. I'm going to add those together and then divide that by 2. Now I have Y1 plus Y2. So here's my Y1, which is 2, plus -2 divided by 2. Close the parentheses. So here we have -3 4. So this is going to be now 1 over 2. Now this is going to subtract and be 0, so that's 0 over 2. So my midpoint should be at 1/2, 0. And if we look, we can actually physically plot this point. 1/2, 0 ends up being right here. So that's your midpoint. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Luis, this is the last time you're going during a lesson. Understood? Okay. So now what I want you guys to do is find the midpoint for each segment with the given endpoints. All right. Who wants to see one more example before I let you guys do it? Okay. Which one do we want to do? We want to do A or B? Doesn't matter to me. B? Everyone okay with that? Show hands for B. All right. Take out your calculators, though. We're going to need those. All right. So again, I have to decide which is point 1, which is point 2. I'm going to state that E is going to be my point 1. F is going to be my point 2. That makes 2.5 x1, negative 7 y1. For F, this will be x2, this will be y2. And then I substitute it in to this formula. So the midpoint is going to equal, in this case, I'm going to have 2.5 plus a negative 6.2, all divided by 2. Comma. I'm going to work with my y's. Here's y1, here's y2. So this will be negative 7 plus negative 3.8 divided by 2. All right, now someone tell me 2.5 minus 6.2, what do we get there? Negative what? Good. Perfect. So we get negative 3.7 over 2. And then we get negative 7, again, minus a 3.8. So what do we get for that? What do we get? Good. Negative 10.8. Very good. So negative 10.8. Oh, there we go. Got it. Divided by 2. Okay. Now, what is negative 3? What is negative 3.7 divided by 2 going to be? Let's round it. I think it ends up cutting off. So what does that give me? Negative 3.7 divided by 2. What is it? Good? Very good. Negative 1.85. And then what's negative 10.8 divided by 2 going to be? Good. Negative 5.4. There we go. So there's your midpoint. So that was the more difficult one. Why don't you guys do letter A on your own? And we'll talk about that in a minute, okay? Go ahead. Where'd it go? You're gonna have to wait. We gotta get through the lesson first. Where did my Google Classroom go? There it is. Good Lord, come on. Okay. Who's got an answer for this one? Good. Okay, so we have 3, comma, negative 3.5. You could have also had like 3 and negative 7/2. Both work, okay? And you guys see nothing. Here we go. That's better. Anybody need to go through it? Okay. Let's take a look at now the distance formula. Ignore this. You can cross out that note there because I'm using the sheet, so I'm not using their slides. All right, so it says the distance between 2 points, point P as x1, y1, and Q as x2, y2. So we're going to talk about the distance formula. So if we're finding the distance between 2 points, okay, from here to here, all right, we got to find those points and then substitute it in. Just like with midpoint formula, it does not matter what you decide is 0.1 or 0.2. Just be consistent throughout. Don't flip-flop them, all right, in the middle. All right, so the distance formula is the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. So for this example, they're asking us to find KL. So here's K, here's L. K in this case is 1, 3, and L is 3, negative 2. Now, I'm going to kind of mix things up a little bit. I'm going to define this as my, actually, no, I'm not mixing up. This is 2, this is 1. But again, I can flip-flop these. It doesn't matter. This ends up being x1. This ends up being y1. This is x2, y2. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute these into this formula. So here I'm going to have the square root of 3 minus, there's my x2, here's my x1, 1, quantity squared, plus, looking at my y's, here's my y2, here's my y1, so this will be negative 2 minus 3, quantity squared. From here, I'm going to simplify. So this is going to be 3 minus 1, which is 2 squared, plus negative 2 minus 3, negative 5 squared. 2 squared gives me 4. 5 squared gives me, negative 5 squared gives me positive 25, not negative 25. Negative 5 times negative 5. This gives me the square root of 29. Again, you don't have to put this on the second page. I'm just running out of space. Which is, I get about 5.4. Could someone confirm that for me just to be safe because I did not have a calculator? Yeah, thank you so much. Last thing I want to do is give you guys bad information. All right, any questions on this? What can I address here? All right, let's take a look at the backside. Now these are straight, oh my gosh. These are straight from the companion, okay? So you don't need to look at your companion. It's all right here. What they want you to do is you are given point P and Q as endpoints P, negative 5, 4, and Q, 7, negative 5. What is the midpoint of PQ? And then what is the length of PQ? What they're talking about here is here you use the midpoint formula. And when they're talking about length, they're saying, hey, use the distance formula. Okay? And I have both on the board so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Sound good? Take a minute and do 5 and 7. Go ahead. These are from your companion. We're skipping 6. You don't want to do 6, believe me. Okay, so get going on that, and then we'll go over that in just a minute. So, yep, good job. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. So the midpoint for this one, remember, you are adding those together, okay? Why it's doing that? Okay. So again, the midpoint formula, the setup should look like this. This will be -5 plus 7 divided by 2, and then we're going to have 4 minus 5 divided by 2. In the end, you should have had 1 comma -1/2 or -0.5, whatever you have there, okay? Questions on the midpoint? Okay, distance formula. Now, keep in mind, because I did notice this as walking around the room, this wasn't just one person, you don't get a point for the distance formula. Distance is a length, so you get like a total measurement, okay? So you should have like a number there, or decimal, or something like that. So my setup looked like this. I had -5 minus 7 squared plus 4 minus a -5 quantity squared. So it all depended on what you did as your point 1 and point 2, okay? When I simplified, I got the square root of 225, which ends up being a total of 15. Now this should have combined. -5 and -7 give you a -12. So that gives you 144 when you square it. This becomes positive, so that gives you 9. So it's 144 plus 81. Okay? What questions do we have right now? Anything? All right, I'm leaving these 2 up here because we're going to be doing this today and tomorrow. Your homework is on Savas, whatever it's called. I think it's 8 total problems. I'm going to give you guys a tip. Do not shortcut these. Write them out, okay? Please write them out. It will help. Your test, this is topic 1, part 1, is going to be Friday because this is the last section of that first half of the topic, okay? And then we do the second half of the topic next week. So today is homework. Tomorrow we're going to review just these 2 concepts. Thursday we'll review everything. Friday we will test. Sound good? Questions? Okay. Get going on your work. Those of you watching at home, have a great day.